Okay, let's get started. Right. Hiya, good evening.
Good evening.
Awesome. Tell me something about yourself, please.
Right. So I am Hiya Jain, a final year student, currently pursuing my BTech in bioengineering from IIT Mandi. I have been brought up in Mumbai and come from a joint family of 14 members. We have a family business of manufacturing enamel copper wires. Um, I have always been interested in leadership and managerial roles. I mean, starting from becoming the class leader in school to then becoming the house prefect. Even in college, I first became the hostel cultural secretary, and then I went on to become the general secretary of the student gymkhana, for which I even earned a certificate of exemplary service. Apart from this, I enjoy reading and writing, and I take up a few artistic pursuits from time to time. I also end up going on the lawn tennis court every once in a while. I am not punctual, but I do enjoy the sport. So yeah, that's about me.
Okay. Okay. All right. Um, Interestingly, you didn't speak about your academics. You did touch on it, I think.
I just mentioned that I am a BTech in IIT Mandi. So I mean, I'm interested in academics. I've always been good at it. I
Right.
am in an IIT, so I think that speaks that I am dedicated to my academics, definitely.
Okay. Okay. All right. Talk to me about why MBA. Mention all your reasons.
So starting at the base role of being interested in leadership and managerial roles, like, I mean, I can go to the base of becoming the class leader in the prefect. When I came into the college the very first year and I saw the student gymkhana, there was a part of me that thought, I want to be a part of that gymkhana. I want to be at the forefront of causing change. So that idea of being in a leadership position has always been there in some part of me that in the future, someday I want to do it. And then during my degree, I ended up doing three internships. Two of them were in the industry, in the biotech bioengineering field, and one of them was a product management internship. So when I was doing the first two internships, I didn't hate it, but I wasn't too happy with what I was doing, and it just felt incomplete. I was just not satisfied with what I was doing. Then when I went on to do the product management internship, um, I figured that this is something that I enjoy more. With the basic difference in that intern, I was more exposed to talking to clients and thinking out of the box, thinking about how would I develop the product, actually getting the chance to use my knowledge into doing something good. Whereas the other two internships actually were a lot more streamlined, and they told me, this is what you have to do. There was little freedom to actually think out of the box and grow in that direction. And that's when I decided that becoming a manager or taking up a business where I have this freedom of thinking beyond what is required, of researching more, of thinking, delving into the topic and using my technical skills in a better way. This is something that I want to do. So
Okay.
that is when I decided that I should do an MBA.
Okay. Okay. What were the first two internships that you weren't happy with? What were those all about?
The first one was a research analyst internship. So I was just starting my second year, so it wasn't too heavy. It was more about trying to research the various conditions and the symptoms. So it was a bit more related to genetics. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
it was completely research oriented, of sort of like text textbook researching, like just
Got it.
Googling,
Got it.
reading research papers, those kind of research. The second one, the role was a lab technologist. So I was working during the third wave of COVID.
Mm.
I was in Bangalore. So I was completely involved in the RT-PCR testing and the releasing of the reports. That
Right.
was the work in the second internship.
Okay. The lab technologist one in the middle of the third wave of COVID seems like a very fulfilling internship, right? I mean, you were out there in the field helping patients.
So
So
it was,
mm,
yeah, it was definitely fulfilling in that sense that, you get to give back to the community. Uh, but the work, it was like you go there at 2 in the afternoon. You have a set of samples that are there. You transfer the samples and give them for RT-PCR testing, then go through the reports, and then just, so it was a very monotonous job. It was
okay.
fulfilling definitely in terms of giving back to the society, which is something that I aim to do right now also, but maybe in a
Right.
less monotonous job is what I'm
Okay.
trying to.
Okay. 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 All right. I completely get it. I completely get what you're saying about the lab technologist one, and also to a certain extent, the research analyst one would have been quite sort of procedural as well. Like you just follow step by step, and then you sort of, you're done with it. You don't have much sort of liberty in the or involvement in the strategy or the thinking or whatever. But then here internships are like that, right? Especially in the undergraduate domain, because you don't have full-time work experience right now, and you were in your second year. Internships are expected to be manual and monotonous. I think that's the norm with internships, right?
Sorry, please.
No, I'm just wondering. Is there an expectations mismanagement here?
So the thing is, all three of them were internships. Even my product management intern was technically an internship, but I had a lot more freedom in that internship. Now, this might also be accounted to the different companies, and I did think about that. So, I have an elder cousin who did genetic engineering. She's a BTech MTech in genetic engineering, and she's currently working in Syngene, which is associated with Biocon. So, probably the biggest biotech hub in India right now. And after talking to her, she is in the R&D department, but even she is looking forward to doing an executive MBA and taking a project management role. So my discussions with her, and then I also have another relative who is in the same field. Throughout these discussions also, they told me what their full-time role looks like and how they are also not personally satisfied with the kind of job that they are doing, even though both of them have the same background as I do. One of them is looking into business, the second one is looking into an MBA, and I have been more towards managerial roles as compared to them. So even through those conversations, I realized that, I mean, there's a lot more experience that they have, and even after that experience, if they also feel that maybe this is not the right path for me.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I totally get that. If you look at it, see, you can always say that I don't want to develop a career in research, or I don't want to sort of develop a career in the lab technology domain or domains allied to that. That's totally fine. I understand that. That's just a future outlook of it, right? But I'm just saying, and these internships were how long? The first 2 months?
2 months each. All
2 months
three of
each,
them were
right?
2 months each. So completely
Right. So
comparable.
my point here is that the future outlook, I understand. You say that I don't want to get into that career, that's totally fine. Right. But finding the monotonous, the first two internships monotonous, and that to just 2 months internships. I'm just wondering, I mean, is there a tendency to sort of get bored quickly with what you're doing, or is there an expectations mismatch? Is what I'm wondering about at this point in time.
So it's not more about getting bored with what I'm doing, or neither is it expectations mismanagement. It is just sort of that it hit me during those internships that this was the very first thought that came into my head. And now the thing is, because of that thought, I went on and I spoke to a lot more people, and I also delved into the part of getting bored easily with what I do. I have held leadership positions throughout that 1 year, and it's not that I had something new to do every day. I mean, that also requires a lot of paperwork and not a lot of doing everything procedurally, because it's an institute after all. But I personally never felt bored in that sort of work. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but it is more because that kind of work just gave me a lot more joy, gave me a lot more sense of knowing that what I'm doing is bringing about a change, and I'm actually putting my skills to a good use, to the use that I expect them to have. So
fair enough.
more of that difference that came into my head while I was going this field.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. All right. Okay, sounds good. Let's talk about your academics a little bit. So you did your bioengineering, right? Is bioengineering and biomedical engineering the same thing?
Bioengineering a bit of a broader term. Within bioengineering, there's biomedical engineering.
Okay, okay. Explain to me as a layman, what is bioengineering all about?
So in the most simplest of terms, bioengineering is biology and engineering. It is the application of engineering principles to biological applications. So you name any kind of field of engineering. If there's mechanical engineering, there's biomechanics. If there's chemical engineering, there's biochemistry. So the application are of core engineering, the theories, the principles are of core engineering principles. The application is just towards the biological domain. For example, you create an MRI machine, even or an ECG machine, all these machines will have electrical components in them. The setting up will be all electrical, but the use case is of a biological application. So that is a part of bioengineering.
Okay. Okay. All right. And you said that it's sort of connected to all the basic engineering domains in a way,
Most of the
right?
basic, most of the basic.
Okay. Okay. So you gave me an example of the intersection between electrical engineering and biology, which comes under bioengineering, right?
Right.
Explain to me like the connections with other branches of engineering.
So mechanical engineering, biomechanics, related to prosthetics,
Mm-hmm.
your bones come into picture.
Mm-hmm.
The stress, the fatigue of the bones. There's biomechanics. That is
Right.
one part. In biomechanics, there is also biomimetics, wherein you basically try to mimic living organisms, wherein you mimic the living things, living organisms. Like, for example, the flight of a bird, how the wingspan is spread, and what are the air dynamics that go in. Part of civil and chemical engineering is the fluid dynamics, where it comes to your blood. When you take into drug delivery systems are there, nanomaterials are there. So these are all parts of material science engineering, mechanical engineering. Coming to data science, there is a field called biostatistics, wherein it is basically data processing, data analytics. You try to figure out inferences, but it is in terms of biological data. For example, there is epidemic data, or how, let's say, your blood sugar level has changed from time to time, and what kind of inferences can be drawn from that particular data. Then there's computational biology. AlphaFold is the biggest example of that, which can predict the structure of any protein if you given proper input. So that's a marvel of computational biology.
Okay.
So some aspects of every engineering with biological applications is bioengineering.
Okay. Okay. All right. Great. Now here I'm going to ask you a question, which is I'm particularly interested in because I'm a type 2 diabetic. Okay.
Okay.
What are the latest sort of advancements in bioengineering with respect to diabetes and type 2 diabetes? Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
So I'm not sure in particular about diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Unfortunately, I haven't researched much in that
Right.
direction. But in general, from what I have learned about, so a lot of drug delivery systems in terms of nanoparticles are taking place. This I have read more in terms of cancer patients and
Mm-hmm.
how they help treat cancer patients in that sense. But I'm assuming, because as and when this delivery happens, as and when the advancements in drug delivery improve, the use of nanomaterials improve, I'm sure there'll be some improvements in this as well. And in terms of,
When you say drug delivery, what do you mean by that?
so there are nanoparticles.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, whenever there is a cancer bolus, there are specific features of that particular ball of cells, that is cancer,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the blood vessels and how they grow there and are presented there. So, what latest advancements have been happening is that you inject a nanoparticle which will contain that medicine
Mm-hmm.
to treat or to kill the cells in the vicinity of the cancer cells. Now,
Okay.
the marvel of this is basically that when it goes through your bloodstream, it will specifically target the site of cancer so that the rest of your body cells are not affected, but it targets that particular location.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
And
Okay. So in terms of I get that. That's pretty interesting. In terms of diabetes, and I know you haven't researched on that topic, but just using the general information that you have about bioengineering and biomedical engineering, how do you think can it help diabetes patients? Are you aware of the basics of the diabetes sort of disease?
I know type 1 diabetes is the lack of
Insulin.
insulin in the
Correct.
body, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And type 2 diabetes is, I think, it's more of a autoimmune disorder, if I'm
Right.
not
So
wrong.
so let's not get into type 1 and type 2, right?
Okay.
Both type 1 and type 2 need either medication or injections
On injections, right?
because of insulin management, right?
Mm-hmm.
Type 1 is more serious in terms of insulin injections because they have to take it at particular intervals, they have to manage their diet very well, monitor their blood sugar very regularly, and so on and so forth. So don't get into type 1 and type 2, just in terms of general diabetes. How do you think bioengineering and biomedical engineering advancements can help diabetic patients?
Right. So, first starting with this, because I have taken up the idea of drug delivery
Right,
as
right.
an example.
But
I started.
why would a diabetes patient need that nanoparticle drug delivery is what I'm trying to understand. Cancer, I get it because it's very localized, right?
Hmm. So the other, there is something called as hydrogels, and
Right.
there is a concept of disintegration of these small particles.
Mm-hmm.
So as and when they disintegrate, they release small amounts of this drug or whatever is stored in them into the body.
Right.
Now, the use case might be particular to drugs in case of cancer, but when it comes to insulin management, um, you need the dose of insulin in your body at regular intervals. Like you mentioned,
Correct.
there's,
Correct.
you have to regularly take those injections. So
Correct.
like we even have IUDs in terms of, female hygiene and the birth control.
Correct. Correct.
Maybe something in that direction could also be taken up in terms of diabetes, wherein there is, as and when that material disintegrates, there is the release of insulin in the body, and you
Right.
don't necessarily have to poke yourself with the injection again and again. It's sort of
Right.
internalized.
Right. So those
And there's,
implantable devices maybe
right,
in the body, which
maybe
sort of keeps pumping insulin at the right uh,
regular intervals,
regular
right?
intervals. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. All right. So these implantable devices, right? And there are these devices that monitor blood sugar as well
Hmm.
now. You can just attach it to your body and it keeps
And
monitoring your blood sugar and also giving insulin. We already have that. It's very
mhm.
expensive right now, but it's there in the market. Um, what other biomedical devices are being used right now? Because this topic is very interesting. So for other ailments, are there other biomedical devices that are being used right now or researched upon?
I am not sure about biomedical devices in terms of this particular kind. I do know about tissue engineering and genetic engineering. I'm reading into that recently.
Right.
So tissue engineering is not per se an equipment or a device as such, but it is a very good alternative to, actually using devices at all. If you're
Okay.
able to go through with tissue engineering to the extent that we want to, we might be very close to achieving immortality in humans. At least that's what the idea is of tissue engineering as a whole.
Okay.
So,
Well, what is tissue engineering all about? Again, explain to me as a layman.
layman. Okay,
Yeah.
so tissue engineering. So there's a motto of tissue engineering. It's by you and for you.
Okay.
Basically, what tissue engineering does is, it takes cells from your own body and it
Hmm.
grows that cells in a in vitro environment, basically in a lab environment. It
Okay.
grows it into, right now it's very limited tissues, but
Hmm.
what is expected that it'll someday grow into like complete organs, which can
Okay.
then be
Okay.
transplanted into your body. So
Hmm.
now, why is this important? Because if organ transplantation does occur, but there is a
Hmm.
lot of rejection when organ transplant occurs because it's somebody
Right.
else's organ that's put into your body. So your
Hmm.
body recognizes it as foreign and it rejects it. With tissue engineering, because it is by you, it's your own cells, so the chances of these rejections reduce. And if it were to reach that the extent that we imagine it to reach, things like a heart failure, a liver failure, a kidney failure, you could just take out the tissues, the cells of your own body, and then replace the organs that have failed. So it just keeps on
Okay.
going.
Okay. Okay. So currently, I'm guessing it's not at the organ stage; it's at the
Not
tissue
at
stage.
tissue stage.
What are the applications right now in terms of tissue engineering?
Right now, it's limited to bones.
Hmm.
And so, if there is a breakage of bones that is used, there are also corneal transplants that have been looked into.
Okay.
Uh, what has happened is that they have successfully figured out a way to attach it again. So basically, there was an experiment in which they attached the ear pinna to
Hmm.
the ear basically
Hmm.
to a mice, and the ear was able to survive there. So it's more on the stage of trying to figure out the environment in which the organ will survive. And
Okay.
so the use
Okay.
case is very limited right now, but a lot of research is going on in this field.
So it's still in the research phase, is it?
It's still in the research phase.
Still in
Most
the
of it is in the
research.
research phase.
Okay.
Only little like scaffolding when it comes to small wounds or bones is the
Mhm.
idea being implemented, but the entirety is still in the research phase. It's just an
Okay.
idea.
Okay. 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 All right. I'd love to get your opinion on the ethics of this. I mean, like the future that you're talking about, right? Organs being manufactured in lab. Of course, it's for you, by you. That's a very nice, catchy tagline. But what the ethical issues around it? I mean, we're manufacturing labs, organs in the lab. You're saying that this could perhaps be used to manufacture full-fledged organisms in the lab as well. What is your opinion on the ethics realm of this?
So I believe that a lot of ideas, especially in the life sciences, they start as a double-edged sword. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there is no right here, there is no wrong here. If I'm talking about rights, there's no price you would put on the life of a human being.
Right.
But then there's always wrongs as well. You can misuse any kind of development, any kind of technology that is being invented. But that doesn't mean you do not invent or you do not
Right.
progress in the future.
Right.
So, in terms of ethics, I believe that progress should not be hindered in any way. But at the same time, there is a need of very stringent laws in terms of its use. And in a lot of bioethics field that I have already seen, they are very particular with these things. So we have an
Oh.
animal lab in our college as well, and
Mm-hmm.
we have supervisors coming in, like who monitor the use of those mice and the environment they lived in. So from what I have seen at a personal ground level, it is being implemented. Maybe when it comes to something as big as humans and entire organisms being manufactured, it has to be a lot more stringent. But I do not think that there should be a blockage in terms of development in this technology.
Okay. 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 Very balanced and diplomatic view. You're a Jain, right?
Yes, sir.
You're a Jain. Okay. Okay. I'm familiar with Jainism to quite a bit, quite a certain extent. Let's consider your religion, right? Jainism, right? Which of course is a very principled religion, right? It can be quite strict. People who follow Jainism are very particular about what the religion professes and following it, and rightly so. Okay, I've got very close dear friends who are Jains. I'm very familiar with the religion and impressed by it as well. Um, how would these two aspects clash here? Now let's assume a world where we are manufacturing full-fledged organisms, maybe even human beings in the lab. Okay, we're playing God here. If we're doing this, we're actually playing God. And then you've got Jainism on one side, right? How would you resolve this clash for yourself?
Um, so in my personal opinion, and from what I have understood Jainism, so
Yeah,
I consider there are the three most basic principles in Jainism. There is non-violence,
right.
there is
Mm-hmm.
truth, and there is non-possession. So there is non-violence, non-possession, and basically it's, if I were to say it in Hindi, it's ahimsa, aparigraha, and anekantvad. So anekantvad is keeping everybody's opinions, like not disregarding or pushing your opinions onto someone else.
Tolerance, right? Yeah,
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 right. Some sort of tolerance, yes.
yeah.
So keeping these three most basic principles in mind, um, unless it comes to the use of these organisms or to the use of humans to do violent practices, whether it is mass murder or wars, I do not feel that there is a clash of sorts.
Okay, okay,
So Jainism
okay.
is strongly upon the karma that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And even I am associated with the lab. We have sacrifices in the lab.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we have to dissect and cut open mice.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that Jainism asks you not to do. It's a
Correct,
very
correct.
strong
Yeah,
principle of it.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I come from a very religious family. I personally am very religious in these terms, but I do
Mm-hmm.
know that eventually this is for the progress of humanity. This is for the
Okay.
progress of science. And I sort of basically I take how do I say, I do my taps basically in
Mm-hmm.
order to, so I know that what I'm doing is basically bad karma, but to balance it out, I try to do good karma as well. Sort of, I'm trying to
Okay.
explain that sort of a balance. And
Right.
so that's what I'm trying to say is that I do not think there is a direct clash when it comes to just development of technology. It's more in the field of if it is harming others, if there is non-violence, or if it distracts
But
you from
what about,
focusing on something.
I
Yeah.
get your point, but what about the aspect of playing God? Because if in the lab you're manufacturing a human, right, you're
Hmm.
actually playing God. Isn't that like a basic clash with any religion?
Uh, I mean, speaking for Jainism, like I mentioned,
Right,
from what I understand, Jainism, the gods that we pray to and the gods that we have,
right.
uh, we do not believe, so I am a Terapanthi. We come from Stanakvasi Terapanthi, and we do not believe in temples or idols. We do not believe that
Right.
God resides in temples or idols.
Okay.
So for
Okay.
us,
Okay. Yeah.
our gods are not essentially the creator of all beings. They are just the ones who have let go of all bad karmas and have attained salvation. And what
Got
we
it.
receive
Got it.
is not because God gave us, it's because of what we do. So
Oh, okay. Okay. So from that
that
sense,
is
you're saying that there is no clash at the basic level.
correct
Okay.
clash.
Okay.
That is
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Okay. Interesting. Let's move on to something else. Now, I'll give you you have a pen and paper in front of you?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you a scenario.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just hear me out, and then you can process it, evaluate it, and then give me your response. Okay. It's not a scenario. It's basically it's sort of a logical question. So, and if you've heard of this question, let me know. There is a car with a standard car with four wheels. Okay. It's got one extra stepney backup wheel as well.
Mhm.
Okay. So four wheels plus one extra. Okay. Now, each wheel can travel a maximum distance of 100 kilometers
Mhm.
before it wears out.
Okay.
Okay. What is the maximum distance that this car can travel with optimal utilization of this five wheels?
Okay.
Have you come across this question before?
The only logical question I've come across is the one with 25 horses, five
Okay.
racetracks.
All right. All right. So yeah, this is your question. You can let me know.
Can I take a few minutes? Think
Sure.
about.
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
So is it 125 kilometers? I mean, I
Okay.
might be wrong.
Run me through your method. Run me through your method. The
Uh,
methodology. Yeah.
then there's, I was just thinking in terms of the usage of one extra equally in terms of all four. So if it were just to replace one of them, it would, I mean, the other three would stop working. So it doesn't make any sense of just replacing one of them. And because that extra also has a limit of 100 kilometers. So I'm assuming with that in place, the maximum extra that the car would be able to go through would be 25 kilometers, that it would deviate to one particular extra. Like the extra is 25 kilometers and then the 100 kilometers of the base that each tire anyways possesses. So,
Okay. Okay.
so that.
Okay. And to sort of achieve this 125 kilometers that you're saying with those five wheels, how many swaps will you need to do?
Uh, so I think four, right? Every 25 kilometers you swap once.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good. I'll give you another one. Okay. There's a revolver with six bullet holes.
Hmm.
Okay. Standard revolver. Uh, there are two bullets only which are loaded adjacent to each other.
Okay.
Okay. Now the revolver is spun and the first
Hmm.
shot is fired.
Hmm.
It turns out to be empty.
Okay.
What is the probability that the second shot will have a bullet in it?
Is it 1 upon 18? I'm not sure.
1 upon 18. Okay. Explain how you came to this.
1 upon 18. So it's just that the very first round has to have an empty, oh, sorry, wait, that has to have an empty bullet hole. So that becomes, the probability of that is 4 upon 6. And then you multiply it with the second has to have a bullet in it. So that's, the probability of that is 2/6. So that becomes 8 upon 36. My bad, I did the calculation wrong.
What's the final answer?
2 by 9.
2 by?
Uh, 2 by 9, yeah. 2
2 by
9.
9. Okay.
9.
Okay. You want to rethink?
I will take a minute, though probability has never been my strong suit, so I
Okay.
take a minute to
Okay.
think about it.
Sure. Sure.
Or is it as simple as it being 2/6, 1/3 of the probability? I mean, at any round, the probability of it being a bullet is always going to be 2/6 is the first one, even if the first one is empty. And
Okay, so your answer is 1/3?
1/3.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay. Let's move on. Now, in terms of what's going on in the world, right? One of the big, I think your internet is freezing up.
Oh, sorry. Actually, our hostel does not have light or Wi-Fi right now.
Okay, okay.
I'm using my phone internet, which is
Seems to be fine now. It seems to be fine. Yeah, we'll manage. I think we've managed so far, so we should be able to manage. What do you know about the Red Sea crisis going on right now here?
I have genuinely no idea about the Red Sea crisis. I haven't read about it.
Okay, have you heard about it?
Not in recent days, honestly.
Okay, okay, all right. Give me 3 headlines that you've read recently.
The very first that I actually read today was that there were a few Japanese scientists that figured out a way to see two plants talking to each other. The very first headline that I read. The second one was actually about Bernard Arnold crossing Elon Musk to be the most wealthiest man on earth.
Oh, okay,
And,
okay. Sorry, Bernard Arnold, did you say?
Yeah. The LVMH. He is the Louis Vuitton and
Okay,
a
okay,
group of
okay.
luxury brands, basically. So he
Right.
recently crossed Elon Musk to be the world's richest man.
Was Elon Musk the world's richest man before him? Before he crossed him?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
okay.
so. According to the news, that was it. And it was a very borderline difference, basically.
Okay, okay. What else?
And I think the third one I read was about the budget that is going to be shown on the 1st February, the interim budget and the expectations. Something about the fiscal deficit going to 5.3%. So I was actually trying to understand that.
Okay, okay. All right, okay. Do you brush up on current affairs regularly?
I do read. I mean, I do scroll in shorts for 20-30 minutes daily. But
Say that again. Say that again.
So in short, the app that actually
Okay.
I have a habit of scrolling through the app.
Okay.
I do not have any newspaper subscription, quite honestly. So that's where I get most of my current affairs.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Okay, great. Any questions for the panel? Interview panel?
It's not more of a question to the interview panel as such, but there's just something that I wanted to ask. So I assumed that a part of my interview would revolve around.
Oh, we're still in the interview mode. I'm just saying, any questions for the IIM Ahmedabad interview panel?
Not like I can't think of anything.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we'll end the interview here.